And we are back with a very special Halloween themed Carson's Take 5. Ryan as an alien and Sonu here. And Sonu, we're titling this week, What Scares Us? Obviously, a play on Halloween. Now, it looks like someone's behind you there. Who is that?
Yeah, there's three of us here. I mean, or four, depending on how you count the alien,
I'm
right?
not sure. Yeah.
You got my kids call him Skelly, actually, but not very original. But Skelly's got the facts versus feelings swag too. He's got some candy in his hands as well. So here to celebrate with us.
No, that makes sense. We do these every single week. We've obviously pointed out for a while a lot of the positives that are out there. This week, again, we're going to talk about what scares us, a play on Halloween. First things first, do you like scary movies, Sonu? Then maybe let's dive into it.
I'm terrified. I can't, I can't believe I'm talking to a green face here.
Sorry about that.
That feels weird. No, I'm terrified of how scary movies. The last one I saw, honestly, God, I saw The Ring in
Oh, yeah.
grad
Oh,
school. This
goodness.
is like 20, 25, 22 years ago, something
Yeah.
like that. I was terrified out of my mind. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, never again. And since then, I haven't seen a horror movie. I don't mind Ghostbusters. I like that.
Eh,
I don't know. Is that a horror movie?
no, that's
No.
a comedy, Sonu.
Okay.
That's a comedy. Yeah, when she comes out of the TV, we'll just leave it at that. That's nightmare stuff. But what? So that scares you? That's good. I'm going to take this off now, just so I can breathe.
So you
All
like
right,
scary
there we go.
movies, right?
My hair is probably a little bit of a mess, but there we go. That was my Halloween costume. My son's going to wear that. I don't know how he's going to see anything. I couldn't see anything. He's going to run into everybody. Anyway, so let's talk about things that scare us. And again, let's preface this: we're still bullish, we're still optimistic. Just watch the last 30 of these that we've done, but there are always something that we get paid to worry, right? As market strategists and portfolio managers, what's you how about this bouncing forward? What's one you have? Then I'll take one. We just kind of bounce back and forth. What's one worry you have here, Sonu?
My one worry is that mortgage rates are not going down, right? In fact, the Fed's starting to cut, but mortgage rates are still elevated. In fact, it's ticked up back to closer to 7%, probably
Yeah.
as we speak. And we really need housing to kick in. The good news here is that we just got Q3 GDP growth,
Yeah.
bang out 2.8%. But you take out the volatile pieces of GDP, which is inventories and exports, final demand, right? How much are household spending, business investment, residential investment, government? 3.5%. 3.5%. That before the pandemic, we were close to 2.5%. So this is very
Right.
strong, right? And by the way, that is despite, now here's the bad news, right? Here's what scares me. That is with a big drag from housing. Housing investment, residential investment, single family homes, things like that. That fell 5% in the third quarter, right? That's the biggest drop since I'm looking at my numbers here. So since about Q4 of 2022. Q4 of 2022, there was a good excuse for that because the Fed was raising rates. The mortgage rate.
Mhm.
It's not come back down, right? I'm hoping that it starts to fall once we get into the new year, Q1, maybe even Q2. But so far, we're not seeing that. That worries me a little bit. What happens with residential construction?
No, it makes sense there. Another worry, we've come on a while saying how incredible this rally has been. The time we're recording this, S&P's up 5 months in a row, might be up 6 months in a row for higher in October. S&P's up 10 of 11 months. We're up over 20% 2 years in a row. It's looking like that's a heck of a run. Now, I'm not saying this scares me a ton, but let's just all remember volatility does happen. Markets don't always go up. Are we still optimistic 1 year from now we'll have stocks up a decent amount? Yeah, we think so. But again, we've been pretty spoiled here, Sonu. So I think that's one thing that, again, maybe doesn't scare me, but definitely I'm considering and I'm watching just this incredible run that we've seen here. Now, as I look over your shoulder, I see a girl with long black hair, white face coming at you. Is that?
Oh my God, no.
Teasing. Teasing. If you know The Ring, you know exactly. I'm just messing. That wasn't very nice.
Dude,
Sorry.
I spent 20 years trying to forget that.
Sorry. Well, now ruined that for you. So that's one potential thing out there. And the other one, and this is what it is. They call them black swans for a reason. A black swan event's like something nobody sees, right? COVID. This time 5 years ago, nobody saw a 100-year pandemic coming. All right. It happened. You think about scary movies. We kind of talked about it. The monster or the alien in my particular case, never jumps out at you just straight ahead. You don't see it coming. It's always in the darkness. It's always behind you're behind the wall. It's always kind of behind the next turn. That's what gets you. And again, we're not just losing sleep over this, but we are fully aware that there could be something out there that we don't really see coming. And again, that's why we have a diversified portfolio. Yes, we're overweight equities, but we have some bonds, we have a little bit of gold, a little bit of cash, some diversifiers in there in case something really, bad were to happen, so to speak. So those are some things that I'm watching. What else, Sonu, is kind of a worry you have over the next 6 months or so that maybe no one else is talking about or not talking as much about here?
I mean, one thing is we already talked about rates and all of that. And the nice thing is usually, like, this is not a black swan. We know what's happening with respect to what the Fed is doing. So the good news is they seem aware to potential risks in the labor market. Because, like I said, GDP growth is running close to 3%. It's up 3.2% over the past year, right? That's huge. That's a big deal, right? So what could upset that apple cart? If the Fed suddenly thinks that, growth is too strong, could we get inflation here? Let's not follow through with rate cuts, right? I don't think that's going to be the case because as you and I have talked about, that happy ingredient over here that makes all this work, strong growth, low inflation, is productivity. Right? So now one thing we could see is if rates don't go down as much as companies are expecting, maybe they don't make investments. So that's one potential headwind. I don't think that's the case, right? But, that could happen. One positive thing, one thing I always worry about is energy, because energy prices is more or less the ball game with respect to inflation. I know people talk about core inflation. Let's take energy and food out, but you and I are dependent on energy, whether it's electricity or whether it's, gas for the car, right? Unless you have an EV. But even if it's an EV, you're dependent on electricity. We're back to that, right? And, energy flows into food prices as well, right? Through diesel, transportation, all of that. It flows into core inflation numbers through airfares, all of that, right? Meal prices outside of seated dining, restaurants, fast food, all of it. So energy is a big piece of everything in the economy. If energy prices spike, that's always scary for me in terms of, that's always for me like the black swan, right? What could make energy prices spike? Now, the good news there is we've seen a lot of tensions in the Middle East. That hasn't happened. Oil prices, WTI is below $70 a barrel. We're in a very good place. But let's say that goes up to $90 a barrel for whatever reason. It's not our base expectation. That would be very concerning, but not right now.
Absolutely. I think we've gone about 5 minutes here talking about some things that scare us during this spooky season. Hope everybody has a happy end of October. Happy Halloween if you're celebrating.
Happy candy eating.
Happy
He's
candy
got
eating.
Candy in his fingers, so I don't know if you can see it. He's got some Reese's, some Kit Kat, and
he's smiling. He's showing a lot of pearly whites back there. He looks pretty happy about this. So brush your teeth, everybody. But with all of that, again, this was the latest Carson's Take 5, talking about things that scare us. We'll see everybody next week. I don't know. We might be talking about the election next week. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll worry about that when we get there. See everyone next week. Thank you. Goodbye.